It's time for a new episode of Faith in Fairways with the founder, Brad Thorberg, who after more than 16,000 lessons taught to over 2,000 golfers, has discovered the most forgotten and overlooked part of your golf game that is keeping you from playing your most consistent and confident golf ever. Now, here is your host, Brad Thorberg.
What is up, members of the Birdie crew and my fellow golfers? Brad here today, coming to you with another episode of Faith in Fairways. We are going to chat about why your practice is ruining your golf game. This is a huge topic for so many of my clients. You see, over the last 15 years, I've had a lot of great students, clients working hard on their golf game, but they don't really know how to practice. And just, to go back in time, I think of playing high school sports and just how chaotic that would be if there was no plan when we showed up for practice. I remember to this day football practice, going in after eating lunch and into the locker room just to see how bad the conditioning drills were going to be for football practice that day. But there was always a plan. There was a list of drills and time spent on certain things to be focusing on things. And there was a good breakout between technical improvement of mechanics and then going full speed working on reacting and game plan for the upcoming week. And that's the same when it comes to your golf game and your golf practice. You need to have a specific plan when you show out there, else you're just hitting balls, hoping for things to get better with no specific direction that you're trying to take it. So you got to have a plan for your practice. You have to know where you're going, how much time you're spending, or how many balls. You either need to decide on X amount of balls per drill, or I'm going to spend 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, regardless how well I hit it. The problem so many of you fall into is you get out there, you go buy your large bucket of balls, and you just start wailing away. And there's no plan. You just start hitting. And if you're hitting well, you just keep hitting until you hit a bad one. And then you start thinking of, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What do I need to change? Let me try this. Let me do that. I read this article. How about that? And that's really where you start creating some very bad habits. You basically are training your brain to think every bad shot is your fault, and you're training your brain to think there's some magical thought that will cure it, and that's not true. I mean, think of the amount of reps when you go back to any sort of task you had to learn that required hand-eye coordination and just how much practice it took. There was no magical thought of do this and I'll catch every ground ball coming at me. It took repetition of someone hitting ground balls at you and you getting in front of it and learning how to go through the motions and react and understanding how the ball's going to react. And it's the same in golf. You have to be working on your mechanics, and you also have to be working on just hitting golf shots. And when we're in golf season like we are right now, which is hands down my favorite time of year, you need to be out there focusing probably 70% of your time on just hitting the golf ball where you're looking and getting a sense of, hey, when I align at this target and I swing this club, it's tending to go straight or this direction. And it's giving you a way to go manage a golf course. And another 30% of the time working on maybe a mechanical move, and it should be only one move. Like I tell my clients, I don't care if you're working on, doorway sway drill and you're trying to get better rotation staying on top of the ball and you go shank 10 shots in a row. I don't care, because it's not about how you hit the ball, because that wasn't your focus. Your focus was on how your body was moving. So when you're out there practicing mechanics, you got to separate yourself from the end result and focus on the mechanical movement. Too often I see the amateur golfer out there trying to work on their mechanics, which is great, but then they're basing how successful the mechanical drill is on where the ball goes, and that is just setting you up for frustration. And it's training your brain to think that the moment you hit a bad shot, you did something wrong and you need to fix something, and that is totally not true. Your mechanics take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reps. I kid you not. When I work with my clients and I give them a drill, I go, this is the only drill you're doing for the next week or two. So in the next 7 to 14 days, and your goal is 500 to 800 reps, 500 to 800 reps of a single movement to change muscle memory, and it's usually a very exaggerated movement. So that way when you put the club in your hand and you pull the club back, you're not thinking of how to swing the club. You're just focusing on hitting the ball solid, starting it and ending it on certain targets, and your mechanics are ever changing. And they will be the rest of, not to to burst your bubble, but your mechanics will always be changing. Even when they get into a great spot, they will slowly be changing to something else, because there's no like perfect range of motion. We're either going to overdo something, underdo something. We might get misaligned for a couple practice sessions. The next thing you know, our swing path has changed. I mean, I've seen it. I've been doing this a long time, over 16,000 lessons. You know, I've seen people in wonderful spots show up 2 weeks later with an entirely different swing because they put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reps of something they thought was working good because they saw the ball flight going where they wanted, but then we see it on camera and we go, that is setting you up for some big misses and disasters down the road, and we got to nip that in the butt. So this time of year, 30% of the time on mechanics, 70% of the time on hitting golf shots. So when you're hitting golf shots, now you're going through your pre-shot routine. You're looking at where you want the ball to start, where you want it to end. You're getting yourself aligned. You're taking a deep breath. You're thinking 80% effort, start here, end here, swing, middle of the face. You're not worrying about how your swing is going. And if you hit a bad shot, you go, that's a bad shot. Learn from it so you learn your tendencies. Don't think, oh my gosh, I didn't keep my head down. Oh my gosh, I didn't get enough turn, or I turned too much, or I didn't exhale, or I had too much weight on my back foot. It wasn't that. I promise you, your swing, when you hit a good shot or a bad shot right now, it looks identical. To make any sort of small, minute change on camera takes hundreds of reps, almost to 1,000, really, to be honest with you. So don't start training your brain that. And that's what I see is so often you're out there practicing your mechanics. As soon as you hit a bad shot, you think you did something wrong, and then you're changing it. Then you go to a new thought and a new thought and a new thought. Next thing you know, you've put in 100 golf balls plus a practice swing or two, so you're 300 reps in, and you've tried 7 different things. You have no idea what's working, and half the time you leave frustrated. Half the time you think you found some miracle cure, but you didn't. You just had good timing. The mechanics are still probably poor. So you need to start spending your time focusing 70% on hitting golf shots, practicing your routine, looking at your target, and 30% on mechanics. And when you work on your mechanics, you need to detach the end result of where the ball went and just focus on how the body feels doing that specific movement. Now, if you need help with what you should be working on mechanically, go see your local PGA professional. They know what they're doing, especially one with video. You know, I work for a company called Golf Tech. I love it there because the technology is phenomenal. So getting in front of a video camera will show you instantly what you're doing, and it will help you pick up muscle memory so much faster. Those in front of a video camera pick up muscle memory 7 times faster than someone out there just guessing what they're doing, because what you think you're doing and what you feel you're doing are entirely different than what you'll see on camera. So you got to get in front of a camera. The next thing, that I've already touched on is your practice is teaching your brain that you think every bad shot's your fault. So if you're out there spending no time on hitting golf shots and you're spending 100% of your time just beating balls, cycling through thoughts. I sliced that one, so let me try strengthening my grip. I topped that one, so let me try to force my head down. I hit behind that, so I must not have shifted my weight. If you're constantly doing that while you practice, which so many of you are, you're training your brain that on the golf course, the moment you hit a bad shot, you think you did something wrong. You're in a negative mindset. And when we get negative, we get tense and quick. So that's going to make things even worse with the faults you have within your swing. And you're going to start cycling through thoughts. And golf's a game of managing your misses. So if you go out there with the same thought, start here, end here, 80% effort, middle of the face, and you say that before every swing, and you're only making 30 to 40 full swings, you're going to have a much more consistent pattern of misses. But if you're out there and you slice your first one off the tee, and then you try something different, and then you try something different, next thing you know, you make 40 swings with 10 different thoughts, you have no clue that day where the ball is going. Sure, occasionally you might find a thought that just helps for timing for that day or for half the hole, so maybe 10 to 20 of your swings, but it really didn't change your mechanics. It just helped with your timing. You're still a basket case all over the place mentally. So you got to start training your brain to think it's your fault when you make a bad shot, because that's golf. Golf's a game of bad shots. We're all going to make them.
Even though Brad has cracked the code to consistently breaking 90, there are still 3 major mistakes he's found from working with over 2,000 clients that will sabotage your round before you get to the first tee. Head to www.mygolfcode.com now to receive your free guide, where he outlines all 3 faults and provides you with some easy action steps to start playing more consistent golf today.
The goal is to be the person with the better bad shots. I think of my high school my senior year of my high school year, we had our home invite and I won it. I think I shot 73 or 71. And, I played pretty well that day, but I didn't have the best shot. 2 holes in front of me, a kid had a hole in one, hole 6, back home, Albion Country Club, hole in one, best shot of the day. So he had the best shot of the day, but he shot 97 and I shot, I believe, 71. So I had the better round. I waxed him. I just waxed his butt. Why? Because I had the better miss hits. I had the better bad shots because I was just focusing on hitting the ball. Because up to that point, I had never had really a lesson. So I was just focusing on hitting the ball and playing my big old power fade or power slice, whatever you want to call it, and relied heavily on a great short game. But I played with what I had. And that's how I practiced. I practiced hitting the golf ball consistently with the shape I had up to that point in my life. So you guys got to start playing golf with what you have. And when you hit a bad shot, go, hey, that's one of my bad shots. If you're shooting 90, you're going to make 17, 18 bad shots. That's nearly half your swings are going to be a bad contact or bad direction. You got to let it go. Step over the next ball with the exact same thought process. But if you're practicing on the range, constantly cycling through different swing thoughts, different golf magazine articles, different YouTube videos, then you're a basket case when you're out there. You're just overthinking things, and every time you hit one bad shot, you think you have a magical thought that's going to fix the next swing, and it ain't, guys. It ain't going to happen. So you got to start training your brain on the range, especially in golf season, spending 70% of time on just working on that routine and having that single thought. And then 30% of time on mechanics and detaching the end result where the ball goes from what you're working on. And you got to stick with that one mechanical thought for a week or two till you get 500 to 1,000 reps in, because it ain't going to change till you do. And you can't do 2 things at once. That's not how we're built, especially in an athletic movement that takes 1.2 seconds with a 3-inch chunk of metal moving like 90 miles an hour. So stick to one mechanical thought on the range, get in 500 to 1,000 reps before you ever try something different, and only spend 30% of your time on it. 70% on working on your pre-shot routine. And that way you stop training your brain and you start training your brain to really focus on where you want the ball to go. That'll help you tremendously. And the third thing, guys, that I see so many of you not doing is you're not working on your short game. You're not working on it. I mean, goodness gracious, 60, 65% of your shots come with a wedge and a putter, and you're spending 90 to 100% of your time on the driving range? Come on. Ugly swings can play great golf. Ugly swings can break 90, can break even 80 if they have a short game. Because you're going to have days where there's just, you get some bad breaks or the wind's blowing, and you got to get up and down. That reminds me of a round I did a playing lesson up in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I'm at the country club there years ago. This is probably 8 years ago with Tom. And I didn't hit a single green that day, and he hit 1 green. So technically, he hit more greens than me. And we played 9 holes. And I shot even par because I got up and down every stinking time but once. I got up and down 8 times. One time I didn't. I made 1 bogey, but I chipped in once for birdie and shot even par without hitting a single green. Now, that's kind of, a fluke. But here he goes and shoots 46, hitting 1 green. So technically, he hit the ball better off the tee and up around the green, but his short game was nowhere near where mine was. If you want to truly get more consistent with your scoring, start breaking the barriers of 90 or 80, you got to be working on your short game. And if short game is 60 to 65% of your score, shocker, we should be spending 60, 65% of our time in the short game area. So think of that. If you're out there, and you can find different drills and so forth. The simplest way I would say is what you hate doing around the green is probably where you need to start. So if you hate lag putting, spend time there. If you are missing a lot of 3-footers and hate 3 and 4 foot putts, spend a lot of time there. If you hate bump and running, or if you hate hitting the lofty pitch over a bunker, start there. But you need to start spending 65% of your time in the practice screen area, not the driving range. So if we're spending already, I'm coming up with numbers here, but say you're going to go spend 2 hours, 120 minutes. You're going to go spend 2 hours out there practicing. Here would be how to start practicing time-wise. Now, you can fill in the drills. Go look, online. Go talk to your local pro. Check out some of the drills I have. They will help you tremendously. If you head to, Golf Fit Pro Brad, my YouTube channel, I have some drills up on there that'll help you tremendously. And some of the, other drills I've talked about in some of my past podcasts. But say you have 120 minutes. You should be out there spending 70, 80 of those 120 minutes alone just in the short game area. So over an hour. So now you go over there and you got 50 minutes left on the full swing. Well, you should be spending 15 to 20 of that maybe on mechanics. And then the last 30, 40 minutes should all be spent working on your pre-shot routine, playing that round of golf from the driving range. Grab a scorecard and play 9 holes of full swing and make those last 40, 50 full swings all about playing a quick round of golf out there, going through your routine, picking different targets, having the exact same thought process and letting go of the bad shots and doing the exact same pre-shot routine for the next shot right after. And you start training your brain to really get focused and refocused and sticking to the plan. And you got to have a plan. So just like I mentioned, if you're going to break out the time, now you get in there and you start breaking out the small areas. So if you go, all right, I got 2 hours. Wife gave me 2 hours. Or I got 2 hours once a week to go out there to practice. I'm going to spend 70 minutes in the short game area. In those 70 minutes, I'm going to spend 20 on lag putting and 20 on 5-foot and in putts. And then I'm going to spend 10 in a bunker, 10 on short chips, and 10 on short lofty pitches. And you're going to work on hitting landing areas and working with different clubs and working with different drills. But you're going to space it out and write this down. You got to write down your plan or else you ain't going to stick to it. So write it out. And then go, all right, now I'm going to go over and get my, really all you need is a medium bucket of balls. And now I'm going to, spend the next 20 minutes on my mechanics. So if I'm working on a rotation drill, I'm going to do 3 slow backswings, really exaggerating that turn. 1, 2, 3, really exaggerating it. I hit a ball. Don't worry about where it goes. You're just trying to feel that turn when you hit it. You might top it. You might miss it. Who cares? It's about feeling the turn. You're changing your mechanics. And then spend the last 30 minutes playing 9 holes, full swing. Get out a scorecard and see, hey, first hole at this course is 527 yards. So I'm going to go, driver. All right, it's sliced a little. So now I'm going to, lay up with a 7-iron. Then I'm going to hit a pitching wedge. And you're going to go through that same routine of, all right, starts here, ends here. 80% effort, middle of the face. Exhale and go, or whatever it is for you. You need to be focused on where to start, where to end, picking different targets, getting aligned, and not once thinking of mechanics. And start training your brain to stop thinking you can fix things with a magical thought, because then you can just spiral out of control, and that's why your scoring is all over the place. Literally all over the place, because your brain's all over the place. And it all starts with how you're practicing, because that's what's creating the routine and the habit. And you've created that habit to think one bad shot is your fault, and you have some sort of random magical mechanical thought that's going to fix it. But really what it's giving you is a test example of one, and with no clue where that ball is going to end up. That sounds scary to me. I'd never want to do that on the golf course. That would scare the bejesus out of me, not knowing where the ball is going to go because I'm throwing in some mechanical thought. So stop doing that. So start spending your time focusing more on your pre-shot routine of where you want the ball to go full swing wise, but over 60% of your time out there should be on short game. Start creating a plan before you get there or in the car. Write it out. Type it into your phone, get a piece of paper out, write it out. How much time you're going to spend in each area focusing on things. So you have a plan to stick to, just like you did playing high school sports. Coach always had a plan, or else it'd be just utter chaos, and you'd be a pretty poorly coached team who didn't win a whole lot if there was no practice plan every time you showed up for practice. So create that practice plan, really dive into your short game if you truly want to get better. And then, you should start seeing some pretty good changes right away. You get in 2 practice sessions like that, 4 hours in 1 week, and you start shifting how your mind is focused. You guys will start to see change happening, the very next weekend you're out there playing golf this fall. So hopefully that helps you guys. I know it will. Next week, stay tuned. We're going to talk about why your golf ball keeps going where you don't want it to go. And we're going to get a lot more into detail with that and pre-shot routine and really helping you create a great pre-shot routine. So tune in next week for that. For now, remember to swing easy. Talk to y'all soon.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.